She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Thanks so much for joining us today. All of us here are so committed to helping you to succeed to that very next level of what you desire. And here every day on this show, we are coming against the status quo of success. You know, out there in society, they kind of set the rules of what they say success looks like. And then we go buy everything that they say success is. You know, the expensive cars, the houses, the jewelry, the clothing, right? Eating out all the time, putting it all on the credit cards, and then we end up suffocating ourselves under the pressure of debt. Yes, drowning in our sorrows, becoming addicted to shopping, addicted to terrible foods, a marriage that is sexless. Oh, gosh, I'm so sad. I hear stories about that every day. Not every day, every week for sure. And kids that are just spoiled, rotten brats expecting you to do everything for them. So anyway, that is the definition of society form of success. But here on the Dani Johnson Show, we just obliterate that thing. We just blow that sucker right out of the water, annihilate it so that it does not exist in your mind, because you need to define success for you. You don't want to follow somebody else's dream, vision, goal, passion, nothing. You need yours, because when you own it, you'll do it. So today we're going to talk about something that is massive, massive. I cannot tell you how massive this is. I really hope and pray that you really get, and I hope I get it even more, honestly. I hope I even get a greater understanding of today's topic, and here's why. I grew up in a house, as you might know, violently abusive, drug-infested home, on welfare. Okay, so we were broke, pregnant at 17, homeless at 21, but millionaire by 23. What was the change? What in the world changed that? Now, listen, after I made my first million at 23, I made a whole lot of big mistakes. And today, 100% of the profits of our company, after it is shared amongst the staff, the hardworking people that bring their talent and skill every day and do their best to work with excellence and diligence for you to help you to succeed. Of course, the IRS gets their portion, but the rest goes to the poor, like all the profits. And I don't take a salary from the company. I'm simply a volunteer on this show. I volunteer as I speak all over the world, writing books and producing educational materials to help you succeed in your business and career, your money, your finances, your relationships. So there's one thing that I was turned on to years ago, about 27 years ago, so that helped me make that first million. If this one concept was not delivered to me, I never in a million years would be here before you today. And it wasn't something that I was taught in the home. It wasn't even something that I was taught outside of the home, like from, my, extended family, aunts, uncles, things like that. But this one very simple concept changed the course of my life. And that is that we can learn to do anything. You can learn to do anything. And that the marketplace pays for value. And what determines your value in the marketplace is your skill. Your skill, not your personality, not your looks, but your skill set. Because there's plenty of really good-looking, beautiful people who have crappy lives. Like, not mediocre. I'm talking just nasty. So we know it's not good looks. We also know it's not education, because actually most of the millionaires that I learned from, many of them didn't even finish high school, like not even the 9th grade. Yes, there's plenty of stories out there of highly educated people who've become billionaires, but there are also stories of people who did not finish high school or college that are also billionaires. So education isn't it. But there is something that defines 98% of the population who ends up dead or dead broke by the age of 65 and dependent on their family, friends, and federal government for their main source of income, and those who are in that 2% who are financially independent, financially free. You and I probably desire to be financially free. And fortunately, I learned along the way and achieved that goal very early on in life. My desire is to help you achieve that same thing. This one component, learn. Yes, learn. Learning new skills. Dun & Bradstreet They rate companies. And what they found through their research is that 90% of all businesses will fail within the first 5 years. Their analysis proved that the reason for those business failures was a lack of knowledge and skill by the owner. That the leader of that business who started it, they didn't know how to grow it. They didn't know how to work through the problems with their employees. Maybe they didn't even know how to recruit really good, talented people. Maybe they didn't know how to negotiate the deal while they were recruiting talented people to work inside the vision, the plan, the purpose of the business. They lacked knowledge and skill of how to manage the finances of the business and ended up running up a tremendous amount of debt with no way to pay it back. Lacked a tremendous amount of knowledge and skill on what matters most to the customer, who the ideal customer is. How do we get those customers to come to us instead of our competition? 90% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years due to a lack of knowledge and skill by the owner. In fact, a recent study that I recently was looking at is that out of 28 million firms, businesses, organizations in just the United States alone, 94% never reach past $900,000, never reach the $1 million mark in their business. Man, if companies aren't reaching $1 million mark in their business, the owners aren't making squat. That's the reality. They basically have bought a job. And they stay stuck there. They stay stuck at that $900,000 mark, never moving beyond. And only 0.4% of all companies actually reach the $10 million mark. And of course, you know the fewer and fewer and fewer that reach up to the $1 billion mark. So I don't know where you find yourself in that, but here's what I do know. I mean, you might be saying, well, Dani, this doesn't apply to me. I'm not a business person. No, I'm just simply giving you the facts that learning is the key to growth. Not knowing what to do, but actually taking action. And that's when learning actually begins. It's not about reading a book, learning some new steps and techniques. It's about taking action on what those steps and techniques are. If you learn, and this is something that my husband Hans and I have poured into our kids again and again, and whether or not they do it is going to be a totally different story. Just one day they're going to go through something that they will then have to reach in their back pocket for this one tip that we've put into our kids. Get addicted to learning. Get addicted to learning. Get in the habit of learning. Get in the habit of reading. Get in the habit of growing your knowledge base, growing even your vocabulary. Grow, and you get to go forward. If you stop learning, you then succumb yourself to a rut. And you know what? Ruts stink. So we asked a question on Facebook. And I don't know if you're with us on Facebook or not, but if you want to encounter the most amazing community on Facebook, by far, no question, the most awesome community on Facebook is at Dani Johnson Live. That's one N and an I. Dani Johnson Live. You'll find amazing people who are growing their finances, their businesses, and their careers. They're annihilating their debt, becoming debt-free in 5 to 7 years. They are grooming their next generation, their children within their home for success and leadership, entrepreneurialism, understanding money, and great people skills. And they have learned and are learning how to have passionate, harmonious marriages. Not perfect marriages, passionate, harmonious marriages. They have some peace in there. So if you want to find a community like that, oh, by the way, and thousands of them, thousands and tens of thousands of them are helping the poor that are around them and abroad. So they're not just greedy suckers going after bigger houses, more cars, and more boats, and more junk, and more clothes to impress everybody. They are a people. Come on, I know it's like hard to imagine, right? Yeah, no, but they're there. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. You can find this community, Dani Johnson Live, on all of those places. So we asked a question, and we wanted to know, is learning a part of your values? Is learning a part of who you are? Has it always been that way? And what have you learned that has helped your life, whether it's business or family? What have you learned that has helped your life? So today's show is going to be powerful. You're actually going to get the opportunity to learn some new techniques that you can apply to work today and at home today. So let's go over to the phones. We've got some people waiting. We've got Demetrius. Sorry, pushed the wrong button. Demetrius Thornton from Illinois. Demetrius.
Hello, Dani. How are you?
I'm so good, and it's good to hear your voice. So tell us.
Thank you, madam.
Yes, tell us. Are you one who has always been about learning, or are you one that has just recently kind of succumbed yourself to learning and now it's a habit?
You know what? To be honest, I have not been big on learning for most of my younger life. And it caused a lot of problems for me because I didn't focus in on improving certain skill sets.
Yep.
And it wasn't until a wonderful friend of mine actually introduced me to you. And after much resistance, I got a hold of magnetic influence.
Wow.
One of my biggest problems was talking to people and engaging in conversation. So I got a hold of magnetic influence, conditioning for success, and started First Steps, and everything just kind of exploded from there. Just in personal development, I started 2 businesses after that. I fixed a ton of relationships after that. I had the confidence to really overcome some areas, especially after First Steps, some areas where I really doubted myself, which led to more learning and more success in my business. And it was just been, it was really just that really got me on that path. And ever since, anything I can pick up, any book I can read, any class I can take, whatever it is, I just kind of try my best to absorb as much of that information as I possibly can.
Wow, that's amazing. So you were that young person that didn't learn, didn't pay attention, didn't find the value in learning. And then you come to a struggle, right? Because of what you don't know how to do manifests itself in your finances. It shows.
Absolutely.
So if you have a business and it's not making money, it's not the economy's fault. It's not the current presidential administration's fault, right? It's not the country's fault. It's not the customer's fault, right? It's not the employee's fault. It's not your mom's fault. It's not your dad's fault. It's your fault. And when we come to that place and we're like, hold on a second, there's something that's not working, all we're lacking, and to me, this is like the best thing since sliced bread, is it just shows that wherever I'm failing in life, it just shows that I'm lacking a skill. That's it.
Yes.
And that is like so simple, like awesome.
It's like, how can you have a business but you are afraid to talk to potential customers?
But duh!
You can't get clients if you can't.
Exactly.
There's something there you have to fix. You can't blame anybody else.
Gosh, man.
You got to fix that situation.
Oh, I love you. I love you. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
So what did Demetrius do that changed the course of his whole life? Could you do it in your life? Find out next on The Dani Johnson Show.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
In your face and in your corner. You've never had a coach like this before. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
You know what? Have you found yourself struggling? Have you found yourself beating your head up against the wall? Are you in that place where it's been happening for years? It's exactly what you just heard from Demetrius, right? Just struggling and not knowing what's wrong. And we can't blame. We have to take responsibility. We got to look in the mirror and say, what am I lacking? Where do I need to grow? What do I need to learn? And that's, hello, he was a guy that wasn't a learner that then gets introduced to destinyglobal.com and all of those incredible materials, simple strategies, simple educational tools to help him learn how to grow his business. So he went from afraid to being in contact with a customer to now growing that thing and now has two businesses, restoring relationships. Listen, if you get addicted to learning, there's nothing you cannot do. There's nothing you cannot do. And when I say learning, I'm not talking about accumulating knowledge. I'm not talking about buying books and audios and videos. I'm not talking about going to seminars. I'm talking about doing all of that and applying at least one thing out of each one of those tools that you're learning. If you get one thing out of one book and you start to apply it, something's going to change. You get one thing out of like what Demetrius was just talking about, magnetic influence. He was afraid of talking to people. Magnetic influence and conditioning for success changed that for him. He learned new strategies. So he stopped thinking about how he was afraid of people and started practicing new tools, and those new tools resulted in making more money. He then came to a place of, man, I'm struggling in this area, and he comes out to a training seminar. First Steps to Success was a 3-day event that's going to teach you, train you, develop you from the core of who you are. You're going to become something that you didn't even know you were possible. Look at it. The guy went from afraid to no longer afraid to growing something that's dynamic. You can do the same thing. You can. So magnetic influence is what he talked about. You can find that at destinyglobal.com. Again, that's destinyglobal.com. It's right there. You can find it very simple. Type in magnetic influence. It's in our shopping cart. You'll find it. It's a powerful training series and conditioning for success. Okay, Matt Barnes. Matt.
Hi, Dani.
Hi. Welcome to the show.
It's an honor.
It's an honor to hear your voice. So tell me, were you always somebody that loved to learn, or was that a more newer thing in the more recent years of your life?
Not at all. I actually thought I knew it all. Coming out of culinary school, I thought I was the best thing since sliced bread. No pun intended. Being a chef, and cooking and doing my thing, and I finally came to First Steps, and one of the biggest things for me was when you said the fortune is in the follow-up, and I said to myself, I want to make more money, and the word fortune and the follow-up to my customers and to catering. And I said, I needed a push, really, after sending an email or a phone call with that customer and saying, you know what, if I don't, somebody will.
Yes.
And
yes.
It was like a light bulb. I'm like, I can do this just because I made the phone call. It's also been about the relationship with that customer.
Yes.
And you know, getting them on the phone and just talking to them about anything and everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? Yeah, let's do this, or whatever it might be. So that's where, for me, was the biggest thing, was like just pushing forward, making that follow-up phone call, or even somebody that's not in the business, that if they're looking for a job and they had that one phone call with the employer, it's like, call them back again.
Yes.
You don't know until you make that phone call again.
That's right.
So,
wow. Okay, so Matt, I love what you said. You were a know-it-all. Now, do know-it-all? Can know-it-alls learn? No.
Oh, yeah. I'm addicted now. I can't get enough. Like, really, in this growth of my business, is like I want more. I'm craving more.
Wow.
Because I'm looking to do it well.
Yes.
And when I'm looking to do it well, it makes me want to go after more knowledge right now.
Man.
And it's really amazing, the transformation that you feel. There's a lot of things get changed when you're after more knowledge.
Yes, it's incredible. And especially when you're applying it and it becomes a part of you because now you're practicing it. I love what you said. So look at that. As a caterer, as a chef, thinking that you knew it all, and then coming to First Steps to Success, that 3-day training seminar that taught you more about business than what you already knew, because what you knew got you to where you were at, but where you were at was just where you were at. That's not where you were supposed to be. It's where you were at. And so here, learning one technique, which I know you learned a whole lot more than one technique at First Steps to Success, but just applying that one thing, because the fact is, if you don't follow up with your catering customers, somebody else is. And building that relationship is dynamically so much more important. Learning about what their dog's name is, what their birthday of their children is, like just talking about whatever's, just engages in that relationship. And when that time comes, they're going to call you because there's a relationship there versus someone out of the white pages or off the internet. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your freedom, your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
So 4 years ago in July, we showed up to our first Dani Johnson event, our first Steps to Success. And we were completely desperate in every area of our life. At the time, I thought it was just because of our finances, but then I figured out pretty quickly that it was because of my lack of people skills that we were where we were. We sat in the front row. We got fast track, and we sat in the front row right in the center next to some amazing people because we were so hungry, so desperate, so broken, and I pretty much cried through the entire event, honestly. And when she did the War on Debt, which she will show you, this afternoon, I went back immediately and got it. She had just started talking. I heard a couple stories, and I was like, if they can do it, I know we can do it. So we went back and got it and listened to it on the way home in the car, because we drove from Michigan all the way to Missouri. So we listened to it in the car, and when we got home, we immediately got our papers out. We wrote down our plan, and we started applying it. And within 14 months, we paid off over $62,000 worth of debt. We never in a million years thought that was possible. There's so much that has happened in the last 4 years, and I'm the person that wants the results immediately. I don't like the process of getting there. I want to just get there. But I've learned to appreciate the process over the last 4 years and just seeing the transformation that has happened in us. Personally, we individually experienced different things, and we experienced a lot of things together. I was paying our bills. I was completely disrespectful to my husband and didn't really know how bad it actually was. And so that part of our life is still improving. I can say we're a work in progress. It takes time, and we have grown so much.
We showed up. My wife, I didn't know this at the time, but she was battling thoughts of suicide. I had no idea. I thought I was being a perfectly good husband. I did my best to serve her, be a great guy. But what she needed was somebody who would step up and be a leader in our marriage. That's not who I was. And I was totally emasculated, physically emasculated by, there was someone in our church, the pastor, and so we felt the brokenness of a church, having to leave and just hurt, and devastated. One of the biggest breakthroughs started in our marriage is when Lucy started being a wife to me. And I, as a leader, I should step up, right? Take action first, be the initiator. She did it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a completely different person. And I can tell you, our marriage has just, it's amazing the difference between her feeling suicidal, me stepping down as a leader, to me taking the initiative and just looking her in the eyes and saying, honey, thank you for allowing me to be your leader. And she just melts every time. This is awesome. So. So let me just tell you this, guys. If you're struggling, or you're broke, you're wondering what your next step is, hey, just take action. Follow those notes that you just took. Take action and do it, because your story is going to be here, and people are going to be inspired by your story. So are y'all ready to take notes? All right, let's do this. Help me welcome Miss Dani Johnson, America's favorite millionaire, to the stage.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
I don't know about you, but I'm having a whole lot of fun today on this show. I really am. Man, these callers are incredible. Precious people calling in, sharing their knowledge, sharing what they've learned, coming from a failure of being pig-headed and know-it-alls or just not interested in learning to now learning something new, seeing that now manifested in their professional or personal life, and then getting addicted to learning. Because guess what? There's always something new to learn. There is always something new to learn. All right, so we've got Serena Jo Anderson from South Dakota. Serena, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Dani.
So what about you? Were you one of those pig-headed people, know-it-alls, or have you always been addicted to learning?
No, actually. After high school, I went to college because I felt like I had to, but the truth was I hated learning and I hated school, and I dropped out. I spent a bunch of money to drop out of college.
Ah, caca. That's horrible. Oh,
Yep.
Man, that's lame. Okay, so what changed?
I guess I got plugged into a home business, and they told me that I should go to this seminar, which happened to be your first steps to success. And so I'm like, okay, what's there to lose? And I went with, the idea of learning home business, and you slapped me upside the head, and I learned something I didn't even need to know, which was that my marriage was a mess. And
Wait, you didn't need to know that your marriage was a mess? No, I think you needed to know that your marriage was a mess.
I did, but I thought it was normal.
Wait, let's pause right here. Wow. So you thought, by the way, millions of people think that way. Millions of people think that their messy marriage is normal and that it's okay for it to be a mess, and that it was the luck of the draw. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
You used to think like that, girl.
I did.
So what changed?
Well, like I said, you slapped me upside the head when you said that. And there was something else, and it was everything shakes when you don't trust God.
Yes.
And so there was that, too. And I'm like, crap. Like, I have a lot to learn before my business is going to do anything. So, yeah, it took me a while, but that was like 2.5 years ago when I first plugged in, and I'm happy to say that, I have super passionate marriage now, and, I'm the one initiating sex now, and I love my husband.
I love it.
And so thank you. My husband thanks you.
He probably doesn't mind that you come to that event.
Not at all.
Exactly. He probably blesses whatever you want to do because he's finally getting what he wants. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Now, isn't it interesting? Because I believe that God uses whatever bait he's going to use to get the message that he needs to get to you. And so your business is what you were motivated by, which actually showed that your priorities were wrong. That he wasn't a priority and your husband wasn't a priority, and that's why the marriage was a mess and your life with God was a mess, even though you thought everything was fine. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. My husband and I don't have sex. That's fine. We fight all the time. That's fine. Right? But you're like, my business needs to grow. That's not fine. I want my business to grow. But wow, isn't that amazing that I just love the way he loves us. And I love how he uses, and mind you, you went to a business, finance, and relationship seminar, right? So you didn't even go to a marriage seminar, but the message that you heard is exactly what you needed to know at that time to bring peace and harmony in that house. So let me ask you, did you actually think that making more money with your business was somehow going to solve the problems in your marriage?
Oh, completely, because money makes everything better, doesn't it? So I thought.
Isn't that not the biggest freaking lie?
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Isn't it? It's such a lie. More money does not solve the marriage problems at all. But you solving your own marriage problems by you becoming the wife that you're called to be. And you learning, first of all, how to be married. Did anyone teach you how? Nope.
Not the way I thought.
Mm-hmm. But first steps to success, you learn some marriage skills that now are, increasing your heart rate. I love it. Okay. I'm going to get myself in trouble. You know, they're going to bleep me from the air if I keep going in that direction. I can't help but to talk about that subject because it just makes the world go round. It actually populates the planet. But it makes everything better, no question. Especially for a woman, if she actually tried. Anyway, I'm proud of you, Serena. I am so proud of you that you are ever learning. Don't stop. Don't stop. You learned about you at that event. Mm-hmm. You learned about your husband. You learned about your personalities. You learned about what ticked each other off. You learned how to serve, and you learned where happiness truly was. And it wasn't in your business. I love it. Proud of you. Don't stop learning.
Thank you.
All right. God bless. Okay. And then we've got Paula over here. Paula Sharkey. I like that name.
Hi. Thank you.
Hi. You're from Michigan. Is it cold up there?
I am. Oh, yes. It's cold here.
Yikes. Terrible. Okay. So what about you?
All right, Dani. So I heard about you through, of course, a business that I was trying to succeed in. And everybody's like, you got to go to Dani Johnson because I kept having stumbling blocks. Mm-hmm. And I just so bad wanted to succeed. And so I went to one of your first steps to success, expecting you to show me how to succeed. And you talked on forgiveness. And sometimes we have stuff in us that we don't even realize. Yeah. And you had said, if anybody's ever been wounded from a father, stand up. If you've ever been wounded from a woman, your mother, stand up. From, you just kept naming all these things. And I had no idea, and this was probably like 4 years ago, I had no idea that I was so wounded. Like, God hit me in a business seminar, and one of the things is I was conditioned for failure. I was raised in addiction and severe abuse. My mom was an addict. My dad was an addict. My siblings became addicts.
Wow.
And what I didn't realize is, like, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to show you guys. Yeah. I will show you. Watch. Yeah. And so I was going to succeed, and I was going to succeed. But you know what? I was freaking wounded. Yeah. And so all of a sudden, you had a guy come over and look at me to pretend to be my dad, which I've never got an apology, and I just started screaming and weeping. And then a woman came that was my mom, and I had to keep standing. Yeah. And I left that seminar with nothing but just tears and tears and tears and tears. And on the way home, God said, I was in Ohio where you were, driving past Indiana, going back to Michigan where my dad lives, and God said, you need to call your dad. And I called him, and he says, well, I'm at Chick-fil-A. I look up at the exit, and he's at the exit where I was at in Indiana on Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
I drove into Chick-fil-A, and he had tears in his eyes, and I said, Dad, I choose to forgive you for your lifestyle. Please forgive me for judging you.
Yes.
And I blessed you, Dad, and will you forgive me? And, he did the best that he could. He was like, well, man, I didn't know how to be a dad. I just had parents. But my dad died last October. And when he died, I had peace.
Yes.
I had such peace. But because I suffered such severe trauma, I was illiterate. I could not comprehend conversation. I didn't know how to have relationships. So for the last 5 years, I've just been stalking Dani Johnson and all the people that go there. And I'm shutting up. I'm following direction. I have 50 journals. I'm renewing my mind. Yes. And I'm becoming a new person. I no longer want possessions of this world, but I want possessions of kingdom stuff. I want to feed the orphans and the widow. Yes. And so, Dani, I have something on my wall that you had said, and this is what you had posted on Facebook years ago that's on my wall, and it says, take your biggest imaginable goal and multiply it by 100, and it's still not big enough to compare to what God is going to do with your life if you trust him with your dreams. Yes. Apart from him, you can do nothing. And I left my job 3 years ago, and I'm writing a book, which it's hard. Yes. But I'm doing it. Yes. And God gave me this title, but I am going to travel the world to bring awareness of trauma and addiction. If you don't get help, you will stay stuck. Yes. My mother and father are both dead, never found freedom. My brother hung himself this Christmas, but he got saved. And 5 siblings are addicts, but God called me out. Yes. And then here's some of the important things that you said. Read your Bible from cover to cover. I started a year ago. I'm only halfway through. Good job. But you told me to study God's character and how he speaks to people and how he speaks to you through other people. And Dani Johnson, I even stopped going to church because I needed to know who he is and not religion. Yes. And not religion. Yes. And I'm following the flock. Yes. I'm letting go of the poverty mentality. Yes. And I've been to 2 of your first steps of success. I've always just wanted to run up and grab you, but you always say, please, no selfies, please respect that. But I put on my dream board this year, I will be a deeper part of the Dani Johnson community. And God has set up this appointment for me to say thank you for doing the hard work and paving the way, because I am with him going to do something with my life.
Amen. Amen. Okay, you've had me in tears since almost the beginning that you opened your mouth. I'm so blessed to have talked to you. I'm so proud of you. And I know what it's like to grow up in that same house. I'm so sorry for everything that happened to you. And I know what it's like to be with a vengeance, wanting to succeed, to prove everything, but also come to the place where you're at today of peace. Of peace. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Are you stuck? Whether it's your career, your marriage, your parenting, your finances, or any other area, Dani has a tip to get you unstuck next.
You want to succeed, right? But you do not want to fail God at the same time. There is a way to succeed from a biblical perspective, and it's far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Over 500 scriptures I studied to study money, everything that the Bible said about money. That's in the first couple chapters of Spirit-Driven Success. Not to mention leadership, working with people, growing a career, being used mightily in the marketplace, which is where Abraham, God used him in the marketplace. And Joseph, God used him in the marketplace. Moses, God used him in the marketplace. Daniel, Solomon, really all of the greats of faith, most of the greats of faith throughout the Bible, they all were in the marketplace, and God wants to show you how you can be used mightily by him in the marketplace. Right here, Spirit-Driven Success is where all of my notes are on how you can do that. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success today.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was working 60 to 75 hours a week. I was completely stressed out. I was incredibly angry with my husband. We were in over $350,000 worth of debt. By applying the strategies that Dani teaches, in the last 3.5 years, we have paid off $170,000 in debt. We are no longer roommates, and we no longer spend every single cent that we make. We now have made tens of thousands of dollars in passive income in investments. We are on the right track. We're traveling around the world together. and we are building homes for those who really need it. So I don't know about you, but if you want to cut back from 60 to 20 and 30 hours a week, if you want to mend some relationships, if you want to make your life more efficient and a lot more fun, and you want to be the best version of you, I highly recommend that you get registered because your life is about to change.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, first steps to success in creating dynasty, my wife and I were really lost. We were struggling in a relationship. We were struggling financially, drowning in debt. Our relationship was really broken. We were in a bad place. We were living in two completely different states and not really honoring each other. Once we got plugged into the community, we noticed a shift in our lives. Most importantly, we came together as a husband and wife. That was the first thing we did. And when we finally came together under the same roof, things started to change. Over the past 3 years, we've been able to pay off over $495,000 in debt. I know in my business, I've had a job created for me that increased my income by 50%. That has actually opened up the door to allow my wife and I to spend more time with each other. So I don't know where you are. I don't know if your relationship is super awesome. I don't know if your job is immaculate. I don't know if you're debt-free. But what I do know is if you're not any one of those things, your next step is to get plugged into DaniJohnson.com, go on the website, get plugged into the community. I promise you, your life will never be the same.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was a broke college student, drowning in debt, and I felt like the world was crashing all around me, and I had bad relationships. Since plugging into DaniJohnson.com and First Steps to Success, I was able to pay off $6,600 in 4 months. Now I'm able to give 10% of my income to wherever my heart desires. I actually, using the skills that I learned from Dani, I actually landed a job before I graduated college, and I'm able to travel the world. All I know is if you're serious about annihilating your debt, traveling the world, helping people, and having fun doing so, I highly recommend you get registered for the next First Steps to Success. Do it now, don't wait, don't even thinking about it. If you're ready to change your life, just do it.
We went to our first ever First Steps to Success just 10 weeks ago, and it has definitely been life-changing ever since.
We felt like we got hit by a 2x4, but it was the best 2x4 because what we realized is that our priorities were clearly out of line. I had been building a home-based business and had been working 80 to 100 hours, and I realized that that is not my role, and that I had actually taken my husband's, and it was that realization that something had to change, and we immediately went home and changed everything. There was no hesitation. We said, you know what, we need to be obedient to God.
And we've implemented the tools day one. We started implementing what Dani taught us, invested in ourselves, invested in our kids, got our priorities in line. We've now actually paid off just not quite $60,000 in debt and looking at a couple more investments here as head of the household.
It's been absolutely incredible. So I just encourage you, if any of this speaks to you, if you're wanting to get out of debt, if you're wanting better communication, if you're wanting to elevate to the higher level of life, get to First Steps to Success and plug into DaniJohnson.com.
Change your habits, change your future. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Wow. What is there else to say? Look what happens when you put yourself in a place of learning. So many people, especially in the country I grew up in, right here in the United States of America, that our culture is not a culture of learning. Our culture is a culture of going to school from 5 years old. Well, actually now people put their kids in school at 3 years old to 12th grade, right, to 18, and then if they choose to go on for more learning, but now they have to pay an outrageous amount of money for it, then it's, 18 to 22, and then everyone stops learning. It's like, okay, I got it all. It's done now. It's very different than other cultures around the world. I mean, I find that all over Europe, people are learning Israel. Oh, my goodness. The Jewish culture is a forever learning, a daily learning thing. I mean, they daily study. That's their culture. And, of course, they are of the most successful culture in the world. They are the most Nobel Peace Prize from the tiniest little population of people. How they own the banking world, business world, media world. We're talking a tiny little group of people who have the most influence throughout the world, and they are a learning culture. And learning leads to growth. Learning leads to happiness. It leads to joy. It leads to harmony and peace in the marriage. We have got to become better in this area, that if your business is struggling, there's just something that you need to learn, right? If you're not getting the customer, you got to learn more about the customer. You got to learn more about the people, more about that customer, more about your employees than you do learning about your product or your service. Those things are not going to make you more money. What makes you more money is learning about the customer, learning about the employees, learning about the sales force, learning about the people that you're attempting to motivate. Learn more about people than you do anything else, and you'll be unusually successful. The key is learning. When you think you know it all, you're stuck and you're never going to move. There's so much that all of us can learn. It keeps you in a humble position when you're learning. We're going over to Barb Hines from Peterson, Texas. Sorry, Barb Hines Peterson from Texas. It's not Peterson, Texas. She's from Texas. Hi, Barb.
No.
I don't know about you, but if you just heard Paula's story, I was bawling. My eyes are still red.
I was right there.
Yeah. So what about you, Lev? Are you one that was always addicted to learning, or are you like a lot of people like I was, hated school, barely suffered through it? I dropped out of school my senior year because I was pregnant and then went back and just got that diploma just because they said I had to. But nonetheless, what about you?
No, actually, I really enjoyed school, and I've always loved to learn more. I think a day without learning is a day wasted in life.
Yeah, well, that's good. So how has that impacted your life? How has that manifested in your life?
Just always learning and broadening my mind and being more open and investigating and trying to see things from a more open point of view. I was raised in what I thought at the time was a little white picket fence family, but after my mom passed away, things began to unfold and unravel, and it was far from that.
Wow.
And my brothers did things to me that kind of formed my thoughts of what needed to be, how a relationship with a man needed to be.
Tell me more about that, Barb, if you want to, if you feel like you want to.
Well, it was, I was assaulted by one of my brothers, but they had me...
Like sexually assaulted?
And verbally.
Of course.
When they tried to scold me or reprimand me, they had a large collection of Playboys and Penthouse magazines.
Wow.
And it became my job to sort those and put them in chronological order. And I was told if I didn't look like that and act like that, no man would ever like me.
Oh, my gosh.
My one brother, it was always negative. You'll never amount to anything. It was just, I had a thing about procrastinating. My parents would say, you're always going to get around to it, but you'll never finish it. I have a really hard time today getting so I can finish things. And as I was raised in a very successful business atmosphere, opened a business when I was 22 in a place that was in the middle of an oil bust, young, dumb, and ignorant, and succeeded.
Wow.
After 23 years, the paradigm of our industry changed. My husband was offered a job. We had worked together all those years. My husband was offered his dream job as a coach at a university. He went on his merry way. I kind of got left behind, had always worked in family business, always kind of had a team behind me. I found it very hard to be alone. And then the person that was with me decided to move off. And it was really hard to find employees.
Yeah.
And what I was doing was very hard to do on my own. But my daughter was of the last of my 4 older kids was going off to college, and I still had someone in elementary.
Wow.
And that became my
How many
priority.
kids do you have?
5.
Nice.
But like in 3 versions.
Sure.
There's like 3 together, 1 by herself, 1 girl, and then another
one.
son.
Wow.
And he became 8 years after the daughter. We have this little guy, and it became my priority. He was, I'd always had oldest to help.
Yep.
And my son became my priority.
Mm-hmm.
But I also found that I was finding myself spiraling into a very deep, dark hole, trying to reach out to my family, but nobody understood the depression. And as I unraveled something else would unearth.
Mm-hmm.
And on a Friday, before somebody was on America's Favorite Millionaire, she was on a radio station interview, and my daughter said, "My God, Mom, that sounds like you. You need to find out who this lady is." So I watched America's Favorite Millionaire, went and investigated
who Dani Johnson was.
Who Dani Johnson was and what this was all about. And in the industry I had been in, I had spent thousands of dollars on seminars, investing in myself, learning more.
Wow. Which obviously helped you to become very successful for 23 years as a business owner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In an industry that was primarily male-driven for a long time, that became female-oriented after
2 decades.
while, and it was fun to see that transition. But I looked on the Dani Johnson website and did more investigating, and it just so happened that there was going to be a First Steps in Dallas in a few weeks.
Hey, by the way, there's going to be a First Steps in Dallas in a few weeks.
I know.
Yeah, I'm coming back. I got to meet you. Okay, hold on one sec. We got to cut to a break. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities, and they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
It's time to take on a whole new mindset. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
So Barb, you saw this woman on Secret Millionaire and you went to the website. You found out about First Steps to Success in Dallas, Texas, and just so happens the next one's going to be in Dallas. What happened after First Steps to Success?
My marriage changed. I was able to spiritually with the help of First Steps from Success, I was able to start digging out of my deep hole.
Yes.
My marriage changed. I've made changes in my life that I continue to seek guidance with. I've been to Creating a Dynasty.
Wow.
If you haven't gone to either of those, you need to get there. It's life-changing.
Yeah. I am so happy, number one, that look at our God, right? You wound up in that, amazing. He is, that you wound up in that deep, dark, lonely place, estranged from your husband. So many life changes that happened, right? The kids growing out of the house, still one in the house, the business, the market, all of that stuff. And we don't know how to get ourselves out of it. First of all, we don't know how we got there. You know what I mean? And that's what's so powerful about First Steps to Success and the community of people that are in the same boat, all looking to get out of it. You know what I mean? And move their lives forward. But Barb, I'm so proud of you that you took that information, you applied that information, you applied it to the marriage, you applied it to your life, and you saw results because of it. And I just love that God brought you and I together from a simple television show. First of all, a radio show that your daughter heard right before the show aired, and that you acted, that you took the right step. I'm beyond proud of you and so excited to talk to you for the first time on the phone. Well, wow. I don't know about you, but today has been so enlightening, hasn't it? I mean, you learned today business strategies. You learned today some communication strategies. You also learned today that it doesn't matter what your past is. You just heard these two women's stories. It doesn't matter what your past is. You can take up courage today to forgive who you need to forgive, to learn what you need to learn to move your business or your career, your marriage, your parenting forward, and to get yourself out of deep, dark hole. Take courage today. In fact, you might want to re-listen to today's show, and you can do that on our website, destinyglobal.com. Again, that's destinyglobal.com. That website has an archive. Hundreds and hundreds of our past television and radio shows are right there on our website. Go there now and also get a hold of some tools that are just so powerful and sharp to help move you, to help get you from where you're sitting right now up to the place that you know deep down inside you want to be. Join us at the next First Steps to Success. I was not expecting this with every one of these callers. We simply asked a question on Facebook, like, what have you learned in your life that has helped to move your life forward? And it just so happens that this is the response. This is a common denominator, isn't it? This is your invitation. Come on and join us, this whole community of people who are rooting for your success. There's breakthrough on the horizon for you. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue tomorrow. We'll see you same time, same place. God bless.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been the Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.